Hello beauties, Shaz here. This is the first video in a series of videos where I'm going to make my own custom-made fall palette. You all requested this. If this is what you're interested in, give this video a thumbs up so I make more of it, and let's jump into the video. Friends, if you watched my color palettes video, I mentioned in there that this fall I'm going to incorporate pinks and purples and blues that you see in some northern states in the fall foliage in my color palettes this year, although traditionally Americans don't consider them as fall colors. We're gonna go row by row, left to right, and swatch every single shade, and I'm gonna tell you what shade it is. And then I'm going to do two eye looks with this palette. Our first single is Terraverse from Terramoon. This is a beautiful neon pink matte. I mentioned to you all that this fall I'm going to do more pinks. Originally, I had a red shade instead of this one, and then I thought a pink one would suit it better. Next shade is Ball Drop from Copacetic. This is an extremely shiny yet flaky shade. It has a red burgundy base, and then the glaze over it goes from pink to teal to blue. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous shade. Perhaps at some angles it's also kind of silvery. It's a beautiful, beautiful shade. These shades are always deeper in person than what you see on camera. I use this shade primarily because it reminds me of wet fall days, like when it's rainy and everything gets wet. Yeah, it definitely looks wet. Beauties, the next shade I used is Nectar from Looxi Beauty. This is a very beautiful, cool-toned yellow shade with a shift of silver to green. I mentioned to you all in my fall seasons video that most fall color palettes in the US, if they're not in the spooky Halloweeny genre, are based on the color seasons. And color season for autumn is considered to be warm. Although it's kind of ironic because it's the time of the year when things start cooling down. And I kind of wanted to go against that because I don't just want to be reminded of fall foliage when I'm wearing a fall look, but I also want to be reminded of all of those wet and semi-cool fall days. And this is a type of shade that would remind me of that. Our next shade is Sea Breeze from Sydney Grace, an amazing, cool-toned, very light matte green, another shade that can be used together with other deep greens in the palette, and Nectar from Looxi that I just swatched to make a gorgeous fall look. Of course, I couldn't do a fall palette without doing a warm-toned green. This one is Mantis from Looxi Beauty. I try to use my Looxi Beauty shades because I have a lot of them, and I figure some of you might still have these in your collection because, let's be honest, Looxi was extremely economically priced. And although it's difficult to get your hands on it, you might already have this. There are some dupes for this shade in other brands like Sydney Grace as well. Other than the shimmery green that I just showed you, this is the only shade in the palette that's warm toned and traditionally a fall shade. For it, I used Haystack from Sydney Grace, but of course you can pick anything that works. It's sort of a gorgeous peanut color. Our next shade is arguably more suitable for winter, but we know we're doing something different this year, and this kind of a shade goes amazingly with some of the other shimmers. Well, some of the ones that I showed you, like that light green one, as well as the Copacetic one. This is Atrament from a Glam shop that is sort of indigo, a cross between purple and deep blue. And for our next shade, I picked Iconic from Touch of Glam. This is from their Color Me Multi collection. And I picked it because it has a very cool toned undertone, but the overtone, as you can see, is gold going into a beautiful tealy green. And from some angles, I even see pink. Let me see if I can capture the pink. You see that? It sort of goes into gold and into coppery pink. It's such a beautiful shade. And it would go really well with the purples and the pink in the palette. I have to correct myself because after swatching this shade, I realized that although in the pan, it looks kind of cool toned, it's actually pretty warm toned, swatched. And if you're seeing sort of tiny particles all over my hand, it's left from the color I just swatched from Touch of Glam. It's not from this color. This is a pure matte. This is a shade I picked from Best Mattes palette of Bella Beaute Bar. I love choosing shades from palettes to show you all that you can literally just reuse your palettes for making these kinds of custom-made palettes. You don't need to buy any singles. Next one is a light blue shade called Snow She Didn't from Copacetic. I love using and swatching different kinds of brands for you all here, but don't feel discouraged if you don't have exactly these shades. You can always use shades that are dupes either from your, for example, ColourPop palettes or the singles that you already own. This is a beautiful baby blue. Black also from Looxi is another shade. This shade is not as warm toned as I see on camera. It's much more cool toned. And this would go very well with pretty much all of the shimmers in this palette, even the warm toned green one. Before I tell you all our last shade, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying these kinds of videos. And let me know below if you want me to do more of these custom-made palettes in the comments below. This shade is I'm Coming For Ya from the Birthday Style collection of Touch of Glam. These are extreme metallic multichromes. And this one goes from a beautiful cool toned purple to a beautiful cool toned teal. And the shifts are super, super obvious. I love this collection. And from some angles, I also catch a blue. This is the shade in dimmer light. And you can also see a beautiful silver shift. Beauties, in the second half of this video, I want to do two looks with this palette while I'm telling you all about my No Buy October. I'm starting with Party Proof. This is ColourPop's primer, and I've not heard the best of things about it. But you all know that just because this didn't work for someone else doesn't mean it's not going to work for me. In fact, there are a lot of things that I use that I totally love that people absolutely hate. And for this video, I'm going to use my refer brushes. Yes, Halloween is upon us, hence the mug, although I use this mug year round. And I'm also wearing ghost earrings. For the first one, I'm gonna go into this blue one with Mini 15 from Refer. Such a pigmented shade. Look at this. If you've been watching my past videos, you know that I got laid off early in October, and the first thing that came to mind when that happened was I need to reduce my expenditure. I'm picking 12 and going into this beautiful green and putting it here. Also a super pigmented shade. Now beauties, you all know that I've been on a no buy for pretty much all of this year, or more or less a low buy. I had a quarterly budget. I'll put my no buy playlist below so that you know what I'm talking about. If you're new, first of all, welcome. Part of the reason for that, actually, I never said this before on camera, was because I anticipated that something like this might happen, because it's happening everywhere in the tech industry. So I thought that this is something that could happen, and I wanted to prepare for it. Separate from realizing that I was buying way more makeup than I needed. After doing my declutter video, also tagged below, I realized that I have way more makeup, way more eyeshadow palettes than I can use, and also way more lip stuff. Those are the top two things that I purchase. But honestly, I feel like in all categories, I have way more than I need and way more than I can use, which was part of the reason why I decided to change the way I even did my channel and take it from a channel that was more in the reviewing new palettes space to trying to inspire everybody not to buy so much makeup. Going with number 26 into, let's do blue. And I'm gonna diffuse this on my hand because these have a lot of kick up. That's a way to reduce the kick up, by the way, beauties. The way the makeup creator space has worked for the past 10-ish plus years was with creators really operating as salespeople. Their core job, even though they might act otherwise, is to get you to buy more products. Think about it. A lot of these people's livelihood depends on you purchasing that makeup. A lot of them, that's what they do full time, unless they're big enough to get sponsorships. Separate from AdSense, which is what has gone down, the only way they make money is through affiliate codes. So chances are, if this is their primary source of income, they're gonna try to sell you stuff. Now, do I think there is anything wrong with that? No. But I know I'm someone historically that I have a tendency to hoard. I just know myself and I want to be realistic about that. Also, I don't think the American culture as a whole helps with that. I think our culture with all these fast fashions and everything is moving towards promoting overconsumption, and it's not something I want to really be a part of. Let me segue here because this is sort of a chit chat, get ready with me style. I'm going to go down here. I used to work for a large e-commerce company, and a lot of the people I knew in that company moved to TikTok to work on TikTok Shop. I just realized a lot of you all might be non-tech people. So quickly explaining that these are not people you're going to see on TikTok. These are tech people who build TikTok as a software, as a technical product, meaning they would build into TikTok features that would help you shop easier on TikTok. They would be people who would be building the algorithm of TikTok that is going to show you products that would make you interested in buying more and more. These algorithms would look at the history of some of the things you've watched and would show to them, oh, this person is interested in indie makeup of this category, and they're going to constantly recommend more and more of that stuff to you, and they're going to know very, very well what you're interested in, and they're going to put those shopping features so close to your hand and give you all kinds of payment options to make you buy it faster and easier. So I don't think it's that difficult for me to get a job if I wanted to work, because TikTok Shop is one of the places that's growing hugely in the tech space. So if those are the types of jobs you're open to and you're a tech alum, it's an easy place to get a job. The only thing is that I need to then reconcile in my own head the fact that the result of my job is getting people to shop more, when I really want to get people to shop less. So I'm having a very internal crisis in that sense. I realize some of us might have gaps in our collection and we really want to buy something. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to shame anybody for liking certain things. Even with my no buy, there are purchases that I do. I have given myself a budget because I still want to try new things. In my mind, the opposite to overconsumption is not to go on a full diet and not buy anything ever again, but to be more conscious and think before we buy. Now you all are going to tell me this isn't a fall look, but you know what? I want to kind of use this green. And with that said, after doing almost a year of low buys and duping palettes instead of buying them, I'm going to go into this green. As I said, I want to use this one, so pretty. I decided to do a full no buy in the month of October. I'm loving that. Look at this. And I love how using this shade completely transformed the look from a cool tone to a very beautiful warm toned or like a mixed toned look. So this eye look is done at the end. I'm going to bring the camera closer and show you both from close up. But the rules of the no buy October is that I'm just not going to buy any makeup or pretty much anything other than absolute needs. And I know we're kind of in the middle of October at this point, but I started this at the beginning. I'm using 15 in this shade just across my crease. And the things that I'm considering as essentials are only groceries and food items. I am invited to some networking events for which I have to pay. So those are things that hopefully will help me in my career. So those would be things that I would be fine paying for. And of course, I'm going to keep my subscriptions and my phone bills and things like that. But for as far as any shopping is concerned, those are all gone. I'm going to go into this beautiful green, such a gorgeous shade. This includes anything makeup related. Eyeshadow, brushes, blushes, anything. I feel like I don't want to keep saying anything, but you know what I mean. As part of my no buy, I had excluded things that I could have run out of. Like, for example, if I run out of makeup remover, it was fine for me to go over the budget to buy that. But for this no buy, that's also excluded because I have more than enough that should last me through this month. In fact, I've even thought that if I could successfully end the month and I realized, this isn't that difficult, maybe I'll just go into mid-November. I decided to do this now for 2 reasons, because October is my weakness month. It's a month that a lot of beautiful palettes that are in a color story that I love, like Halloween-y stuff, release. So this is a month where I might shop a lot. By the way, this was number 13. I don't know if I mentioned that. The other thing is that this past year, I learned that I can pretty much dupe anything. I have so much makeup and so many magnetic palettes. It's close to impossible for me to not be able to dupe things. It might not be 100% exact dupe, but I'm pretty sure I can do something close enough. And I'm not feeling like I'm missing out by duping things instead of buying them. I was thinking about yellow versus the teal for the center here. Let's do the yellow, because I don't think I've ever used this yellow. Like, I've used it, but not recently. I'm just using some NYX glitter glue here. I'm going into the yellow. I'm loving this. Look at that. I'm just cleaning around this. I know some of you have been doing your own version of no buy, and you've been updating me in the comments below throughout the year, and I'm so proud of you all. I don't want to shame anybody who owns a lot of makeup. I just want you all to know that as someone who owns a lot of makeup, don't aspire to it. This does not make you happy. This makes you feel frustrated. This makes you feel unsure of what's going to happen to your collection, because these things all have an expiration date. Soon you're going to open them and you're going to realize they smell. You're going to have to throw them away. You also need to find storage space for them. It's not easy owning 200 plus palettes, and it's not going to make you happy. I now feel like maybe I should have used the neon pink in my crease. I think that would have also been a nice look. Another reason I wanted to do the no buy now is because we're approaching the time of the year when my original no buy that I started back in April was going to be over. Detail of my low buy I described in a video. I'll tag it if you're curious. But that low buy was going to end around Thanksgiving time, which is approaching very fast. Yeah, I can't believe it's almost 2025. But we all know once November happens, mid-November, there's all these sales and new stuff. It's gonna be impossible for us to not spend money, because a lot of it is also not spending money on ourselves. We're gonna have to buy gifts, or we see things on sale that we wanted for a long time. That's frankly the best time to buy things. So I want to save the money now so that I have money on spending on some of the things that I've been planning on buying since the beginning of the year. A lot of them are not even in the makeup category, although they might be things that I've been wanting to buy for this channel, like maybe better equipment. With all that said, if you're at all interested in going on a low buy or a no buy for the rest of this month, or maybe into November. Write to me in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Maybe we can do this as a community. Now let me bring the camera closer to show you this look from close up. Also, beauties, as you can see, I had no issue pretty much with the ColourPop primer, but I know some people have complained about it. I love you all. Have an amazing day, and until next time, bye.